Stephen Mead again, back with another BullsEye Guy podcast. Excited to be coming. I'm coming from LA, Beverly Hills, but my special guest, David, is also coming to us from Los Angeles and an amazing building. I know he's been part of stuff. Excited to have an interview, learn more about the amazing David Meltzer. So David, you and I have known each other for years from charity events, your work with Warren Moon, what you do with entrepreneurship. Let's start with a little background. Give us the David Meltzer intro.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's great to see you as well. And I'm here from beautiful SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. You know, my journey is really about three worlds. The first is the world of not enough. I grew up with not enough, a single mom, 6 kids. She's a mom who worked 2 jobs and packed my dinner in a paper bag just so we had enough to eat. But I wanted to be rich to buy her a house and a car simply because that's the only time in my life I wasn't happy. And so I worked what I call and learned the enjoyment of the consistent everyday, persistent without quit, pursuit of my potential, and later became an internet guru. Although I went to law school to be an oil and gas litigator, I went against my mom's wishes to be a real lawyer. She told me the internet was a fad in 1992, but 9 months when I took my internet job, 9 months later, I was a millionaire and bought her the house and the car. I then, our first exit was $3.4 billion in 1995. I went to the Silicon Valley, learned how to really raise money in Sand Hill Road, became and worked in the wireless space where I became at 1999 at 30 years old, the CEO of the first smartphone. Now, 1999, they didn't call them smartphones. Samsung called it a convergence device. It converged the laptop and a phone. It was a Windows device.
Yeah.
So I built quite a reputation in technology where I met a man named Lee Steinberg. Most people know Lee Steinberg. They built the movie Jerry Maguire from his practice. So in my mid-30s, I became the CEO of the world's most notable sports agency where I met Warren Moon, as you mentioned. We spun off over the last 13 years a sports marketing agency. The last 4 years, I've mainly focused in on my own personal brand. All of these companies that I worked within had 3 things. We wanted to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, so there always is a charitable purpose or cause, and have a lot of fun. And today I have ended up, I am a brand myself. I have a top podcast. I have 3 TV shows, Elevator Pitch, 2-Minute Drill, Office Hours, Bloomberg, Amazon. I speak around the world. I've written 4 books. I have a new one coming out. Just a variety of things. But my main mission now, Stephen, since you've known me for so many years, is I've done everything I need for myself. I want to give back to the point where I empower over 1 billion people in my lifetime so that they can make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun.
Nice. And we'll get to that point, David, because again, as you and I know, you can't scale time. So as you learn to duplicate yourself and grow, let's go back to the internet, because I joke, my first internet company was 96 and I always thought I was early, right? First master merchant. I took it public in 99 at $1 billion. And then I always like, people like, oh, you've done so well. I'm like, no, my friends have done even better. Talk to me about the internet side, because I'm like you. I got shut down in 96. Visa shut us down for processing credit card orders because nobody thought the internet would work.
Yeah.
You know, so what was that first foray into internet? What did you see that other people didn't?
Well, I was blessed. I worked in the legal side of it. So one of the first successful internet companies was Westlaw. So they had a community already that had a profit center tied to using the internet. So unlike most e-commerce businesses that failed early on in the bubble, we actually had a true quantifiable business because what we did was basic searching. We were the first Google. We had a natural language search where you could search cases, codes, statutes, secondary legal information. We were the world's biggest legal publisher.
And there's a perfect use case for the internet for documentation and legal search.
And I didn't know much about the technology, but what I knew was how lawyers build. And I realized that this was a profit center for lawyers and a supplementary income by reducing the cost of office space, because these law books, as I knew from law school myself, I was a lawyer. I knew how much space in Manhattan a federal reporter, volumes took up. It was
Sure.
sometimes $1 million worth of real estate. And if I could come in and say, hey, you don't need the books anymore, just type in slip slash, back then it was Boolean language. Originally it was, slip slash S fall slash P, quote unquote, grocery store. But in minutes, you would have every case.
All your case law.
Yeah. So I knew that it was a great business. I knew the search engine system was powerful. And Thomson Reuters in 1995 knew it as well. That's why they bought West Publishing and Westlaw for $3.4 billion.
Yeah, and you said something interesting, David. I all of mine, I've had years of sales training and things like you have, and I like these little emotional sound bites or tidbits. And you're similar to me, and I know that I don't know how technology works, but I know how it works for me. Means I don't know how to code, but I know what it can do as a tool. You don't have to know technology if you know what it does and how to translate that and really start helping people. And what an amazing time that was.
Yeah, and I think we take it to another level. I tell my kids all the time, technology, as long as you know what you can access with it nowadays, like for example, kids who take Spanish, I look at it and say, if we can duplicate the brain muscles of learning a new language, there's no reason to learn Spanish because, they already have, iPhone next year is going to come out with full capacity conversion where you speak into your phone and it'll convert into Spanish. The person on the other side can listen to you and your voice in Spanish and it'll speak back to you in English.
Yeah. And it's amazing. My other joke is before the internet, there was no internet. And there's so many things you can do now that we couldn't do in our lifetime. And so now you can be much more efficient with your learning and your output and things like that. Talk to me for a minute, because I've met Lee as well, and I'm fortunate to go to his events. Amazing story and his ups and downs. How did you meet Lee, and what was the transition from technology to sports? Because it's a bit of a leap, especially back then.
Yeah, well, one of the things about being poor that I always had in mind is I was always looking for bigger and better opportunities, and I never limited it or defined myself by an industry or category. I always looked at the skills I had, the knowledge I had of what and who, and the desire that I had. And since I played college sports and I love sports, I was super excited that a friend of mine wanted me to help him with a TV show that Lee was going to be involved with called Showtime with Magic Johnson. It was a reality show. Huh. And so when my friend said, hey, Dave, will you help me? You're one of the best negotiators, which was a skill set that I had learned from doing business in technology and in law school. Could you help me negotiate this deal with Magic Johnson? Well, lo and behold, we met at Lee Steinberg's office. Little did I know that Jeff Morad had left Lee to buy the Diamondbacks and be a president there, and that he was looking for a new CEO or COO. Well, okay. I went in to be of service as I always am. And he asked me while I was there, I said, this guy's an old friend of mine. I'm helping him out. And he got some background on my family and my education and my experience. Lee said to me before I left, he said, I really, Dave, would like to get your opinion. I think technology is going to play a huge role in sports. I created the first, he didn't call it a blog, but it really was a blog with Steve Young and Troy Aikman and more. And he sold it.
Lee had all the quarterbacks.
Yeah, he sold his little blog for $20 million to Silicon Valley. And he literally, because of my technology background and my desire to work in sports, knew that I could be an executive of his agency to take it to the next level. And within 48 hours, Lee Steinberg of meeting me gave me an offer originally to be the chief operating officer of the firm. And then 6 months later, I was CEO of the most notable sports agency in the world.
Wow. And that was an amazing time too, because big name quarterbacks, NFL was at its height, and Lee was, Lee and Tom Condon, but Lee was at the epicenter.
Yeah. And I was with Lee as, he bottomed out as well. And, he's now represents Mahomes and he has a great boutique. But I will tell you this about Lee Steinberg, one of the smartest people I've ever met, one of the greatest humanitarians, selfless people I've ever met. There's only one negative thing you could say about Lee Steinberg. He has a disease called alcoholism. But for that, the man, he should be in the Hall of Fame for what he's done for football, to protect the players, to build the game, salary cap, etc. But he also should be there because he created, in my opinion, sports agentry. He is a legend.
Yeah, and you and I mean, I have a massive affinity for him because of the challenges he's gone through and then recovered. But this is about you. We'll talk. We'll do Lee later. Again, you say things, David, that I extract out where you and I have so many parallels. When I took my company public, I was 31. It was 99, $1 billion, and people go, "Oh, you made it." And I joke. I say, the universe gives you exactly what you ask for if you work for it. But two things. One, you better be very specific. And two, the universe has a funny sense of humor. And so our company was $1 billion, but I only owned 8%. I couldn't sell it because of the crash. Like, having a company had nothing to do with net worth. But I also left financial services, and this is what I want to transition into. I build companies in my 10 steps. Step 2 is what's in it for you, what's in it for me. So, and I know you live by this ethos of how do you add value to other people? And every company I build is around how can I help somebody be successful at what they are passionate about, what they love doing. And with what you moved to after the sports, I know you've done a lot in philanthropy and giving back. Walk me a little bit through that journey. If you want to bring the Warren Moon side in, otherwise let's move through the journey of Dave becoming more on the philanthropy side of giving back and then elevating other people.
It's so wonderful because my paradigm shifted. I talked about that world of not enough. Well, when I made money, I moved into the world of just enough, where I was a philanthropist in the sense that I would give my money away. I donated a lot of money. I was very wealthy with access to everything. But I did it for a wrong reason. It was more in a scarce world of for me. I was buying things I didn't need to impress people I didn't like. So I would give to receive. And I know a lot of people hear that a lot, more you give, the more you receive. That is true, but you can't give what you don't have. Yeah. So I shifted my paradigm in my life from giving to receive as a trade or a negotiation to focusing in on, as you said, to receiving as much as I could, appreciating it, meaning adding my value to it, and giving it away. So now my philosophy is I receive to give. And the more I give, the more I will receive. And so now I have a complete cycle, complete flow of not living in a world of not enough as a victim, not living in a world of just enough for me, but an abundant world where I have faith that there's more than enough of everything for everyone. So all I focus in on is how much value I can provide and how much I can receive. I have 2 prayers in the morning. May God put at least 10 people in front of me I can help. And may he put 10 people in front of me that can help me.
Yeah, and this is where, and I believe you and I are aligned, and I want you to talk more about it because there's a type of person says, oh, I'm going to help you because look what I've done and I'll teach you to be like me, versus looking at somebody like I know you do too, David, that says, what are you passionate about and how like the skills you're teaching people is translating for them to be successful with what they're passionate about. You're not trying to convince them to do something different. And that's a fundamental shift that most people don't know how to do. And I know you had not only moved into that with Zoom and a lot of your online things you were doing, there's a way you've positioned to give back to others to make them better at what they're already doing.
Yep. So my whole philosophy of empowering over 1 billion people to be happy, to make more money, help more people, and have more fun is based off of being a celebrant, not a celebrity. Yeah, so I celebrate others. You said it best. We elevate others to elevate ourselves. And in order to do that, we need to understand 3 things. Not only how to be a mentor, meaning giving the most of ourselves. A mentor is someone that sits in the situation you want to be, and they give you directions and relationships to get there faster. But also to be a coach. A coach is someone that brings the best out of you. He may not know as much as you or be as good at you at what you do, but a coach will bring the best out of you to pursue your potential. And then also a teacher, someone that can, Lou Holtz said it best, it's not what I say, it's what they hear. So making sure, especially with today's generational gaps that occur because of technology, that I'm speaking the language that people want to hear, that people listen to. See, I speak all across the world and people make a mistake. They're not speaking to what people are listening for. They want people to listen to them. See, I'm always looking to see, what are you looking for? What are you listening for? Your skills, your knowledge, your desire. How are they synergistic, supplementary, or aligned to what's doing well, what's stable, what we think is going to do well? And let me celebrate you. Let me empower you in order to effectuate more productivity, accessibility, and gratitude within the context of what you want. See, you said it best when you talked about the universe being exact. What do most people want? They want what other people want for them, what's missing, or what they don't want. That's what they literally put their focus and attention into. You need to teach people, hey, these are your skills, your knowledge, and your desire. That's what you want. Now, don't listen to what other people want, what's missing, or what you don't want. Focus in on what you want and make it happen.
Yeah, and again, I extract words, David. Words matter. And you said teach. I give a lot of speeches like you do, and again, I say there's three types of presenters. There's aspirational, look at all the great things I've done. One day you can be like me. Inspirational, hey, if you do all these things, you'll be better. And educational. Educational is if you want to be better, here's what you have to do. And I've sat in on some of your Zooms. You're at that educational level, which can still be inspirational and aspirational, but it's like trying to get somebody to be healthy and they don't know how to cook. So giving them those tools and tips and skills, that's what helps people better. They can't leave and just be excited to be healthy, but not know how to cook. And the Zooms that you've been doing, I don't know if, are you still doing those? I was sitting in on them.
Every Friday.
Talk to me about the Zooms and stuff. I've sat in on a few. They're great, but they are educational. You've moved to that transitional teacher level, which is really a unique place to be.
It's a blessing because it takes a lot of practice to be able to teach somebody what you know. It's a whole different field than inspire them, motivate them, or give them aspirational stories. So every Friday for over 21 years, I've been doing free trainings. They started in Lee's office, and just with my own people, and then people from the community started to come, and then they got bigger and bigger. Well, once COVID hit, I was stuck because we couldn't do it in person. So I went into my closet. I'm one of the few married men that goes into the closet. I went in there and I put up these webinars. We have over 50,000 people that register for the free trainings every Friday. And I teach, inspire, and hopefully motivate as well. But I teach everything from, sales to networking, I have mommy issue training. I have ego training, but I do it with a blend of the emotional and the pragmatic. I'm a very pragmatic thinker. So if you come to one of my trainings, you'll know that there's always 3 steps or 5 daily practices or a template for referrals. And, I have that lawyer, OCD, business side of me combined with, they call me the ferocious Buddha. I'm a perfect blend, of Yoda and, Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, Yoda kind of looks like Warren Buffett. So it's not too hard to be a blend.
Yeah, it's funny. And I've sat in on the Zooms. You also have, and again, I admire you for this. I get hammered over the head all the time to finish one. The books. You've given me the book. Like, what was the inspiration behind the book? And share with the audience how difficult it is. The amount of time and effort to actually put a book together. Talk to me, because a lot of people in your network and stuff, they always like, I want to do a book. I don't think they understand what it takes. And you've done a couple. Talk to me
so I've
about
done four books I've done complete. Connected to Goodness, the Compassionate Capitalism, Creating the Light You Love with Jack Canfield from Chicken Soup for the Soul, and my latest McGraw-Hill book, which is Game Time Decision Making. It takes the time to do the research in order to effectuate communicating effectively. So a book should encompass lessons and stories that are collaborative and coordinated into teaching something through the lessons and the stories of experiences of yourself, others, or made up lessons, whichever way it goes. So for me, I help people to understand how to do that more efficiently. My first book took me 2 years. It takes me about 6 months now to write each book, but I use technology to my advantage. I am an oral communicator, so I spend the majority, 80% of my time doing research, outlining, creating some sort of speech for each chapter, utilizing that speech during my trainings, transcoding it, then takes the editing and production side of creating a book. So if anybody wants my books, ebook, audiobook, I'll sign a copy, send it to you. I pay for all my books and send them out free. Templates, all these things, just david@dmeltzer.com to register for free training or get my books. Just please reach out to me. No cost, David@dmeltzer. I'm on a mission to empower you. So reach out to me, David@dmeltzer.
Yeah, it's amazing. And the same technique, David, you do is what I tell other people. And I want to reiterate it because you said it so nonchalant. What you do is brilliant. And that's what I did for mine. I did a 3-hour course, knowing each course was a chapter in the book, but I expanded and I weaved in more stories. We recorded it, transcribed it, and now you edit with chapters because it's easier for us to do natural language presentation than to sit down and write.
Yeah.
And I've given that tip to people: give a speech, insert the emotional stories, and then edit from there. And you said it so not flippantly in a bad way, but that's an amazing technique to really accelerate things. And the books allow you to scale. The books allow you to help more people, as do the Zooms, which again, I've sat in on, have been amazing. Talk to me about David Meltzer going forward. What is coming up in the next year or two? What kind of impact? What's the 1 or 2 things you're most excited about doing or giving? And then maybe we'll talk about SoFi and your background. But right now I want to know,
I love it.
What's coming up,
so
1 or 2
I'm
things.
blessed. So for me, it's building a community through sharing as much of my content as I can and doing as many good deeds as I can. So I'm chairman of Unstoppable Foundation. I'm the chief chancellor of Junior Achievement University with Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, Brian Tracy, all of these guys. So I'm trying to scale and accelerate the community to be empowered with the values and the daily practices and the content that I have and have access to. So I have TV shows like Elevator Pitch, 2-Minute Drill. I'm launching Office Hours, which is the first late night entrepreneurial show on Bloomberg. So it's going to be, celebrities, athletes, entertainers, billionaires, millionaires, and entrepreneurs, not talking about their movies and their games, but talking about business and the mindset, heart set, and the conscious behaviors that they have that they've taken from TV shows, movies, and swimming pools and golf courses and tracks onto. So the first season has Cameron Diaz, it has Sadhguru, it has Apollo Ono and Marshall Falk. It's Tillman Fertitta. The who's who are going to teach you, Rob Deerdeck and Tom Bilyeu. The who's who in all those spaces are going to teach you in their own office hours session how to be successful, happy, make more money, etc. So that's what I'm most excited about, is being able to create content that's seen worldwide in the UK, India, America, Amazon Prime Video, Bloomberg TV. We are so excited for all the content we're providing. And, I've licensed The Playbook is my podcast, the Blue Wire. So I have all these great studios. I have one in Orange County. I have SoFi. We have an office, conference room. We have a suite, a podcast studio here at SoFi. The Wynn Hotel, right off the lobby. I got a beautiful podcast studio there with Blue Wire, and we're going to be expanding across the country to do more and more live content that will be captured, amplified, modified, and perpetuated everywhere.
And this is all, as we spoke, this is how you scale. You can't scale time, but technology enables you to scale and duplicate and perpetuate your message, which you've done a great job of. From an entrepreneurial standpoint, what are some tidbits? What do you think entrepreneurs struggle with today? Because we've got the filter bubble, we have technology, we have social conflict. There's so many things that for an entrepreneur, we can get distracted and pulled, right? What do you think are some of the biggest things that entrepreneurs can do to focus and get better? Are they tips, tools, techniques, mindset, thought process?
Yeah. So there's so many different things, like you said, so many outside variances that they forget the core fundamentals of being an entrepreneur. Number one rule of being an entrepreneur is stay in business, right? Yeah. Stay in business. So they get so far outside of themselves of being a $1 billion company, they forget about making money, right? They're so busy working, they forget about making money. You need to stay in business. So you got to either have and be able to raise money or make money to stay in business. I still today, and I have multiple businesses and multiple streams of revenue. My first objective every day is to make sure I'm going to be in business tomorrow, because I know if I'm in business tomorrow, eventually I'll be successful. The better I am at executing, the faster I will be at being successful. But if I stay in business in rule number one, I'll be successful eventually if I implement rule number two, which is don't quit.
Yeah.
So the biggest challenge that entrepreneurs have is they don't understand positive behavior and they don't understand how time works. See, they get so impatient. I'll give you an example. When I built my brand, I worked with the best mentors in the world. So I worked 4.5 years ago at the Super Bowl with Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V, everybody knows in the entrepreneur space. I helped him with his sports agency, him and his brother, and asked for help with my brand on the digital side, podcast, because there was no one bigger or better than I knew than Gary V. Well, he asked me, how are you going to build that brand, Dave? I said, well, I need in year one, 2 ambassadors. And he said, what does that mean? He's like, you mean followers? I go, no, what I need is 2 people by the end of this year that will tell everybody, you have to listen to Dave Meltzer's podcast.
Ambassadors, champions.
Right. Read his book,
your own land.
Hire him to speak. And if I can find every year, I was 50 years old at the time, if I can find every year 2 more people to be those champions or ambassadors, that every year will get me 2 more people. By the time I'm 70, Gary, I'll be the most popular 70-year-old on earth. And he said, he's looking at me like, what are you talking about? 2 people a year is going to get you. I said, take 2 to the 30th power, look at exponential growth and permutation. It's 2 million people getting me 2. Now, these aren't followers. These are 2 million champions getting me 2 million more champions when I'm 70. The numbers get outrageous when I'm 80. So that's building a legacy or a brand. And most entrepreneurs don't know that it takes 90% of the effort before you even realize any result that you can be aware of. Meaning it takes 90% of the effort to get to 25% of the way there. Then it's only 5% of the effort to get to 50%. Then only another 5 to get to 100. Then it goes to 200, 400. So stay in business and don't quit. And I promise you, you will eventually be successful. The better you are at doing it, the faster you'll be successful.
I think you and I should be on stage at the same time, because we say the same thing but differently. My incubator is called Big Bamboo because bamboo grows 4 years underground, roots, infrastructure to grow very fast. Same thing. Here's my challenge to you though, David. When you told Gary you need 2 ambassadors, right? The target, the bullseye. Did you have, if Gary had looked at you and said, great, David, give me the 5 names of the people you want. Did you have the names of the exact people you wanted at that point?
So my philosophy was a little different because at that time I had just shifted my strategy from knowing the exact names to, because of social media, by the way, to understanding that I am looking for open minds, open hearts, and open hands. So my strategy was I need to ask every day in person, on the phone, via email, and traditional and social media every day, do you know anyone that can help me? If someone said no, they have a closed mind. I know it takes 1,000 times the effort to re-engineer a closed mind than it does to convince an open mind. So I just wanted to find as many open minds as I could to say, hey, do you know anyone that can help me? I'm looking to empower over 1 billion people to be happy by reading my books, watching my TV shows, listening to my podcasts, going to my speeches, hiring me, etc. And if I could just find 2 open-minded champions, then I would be successful.
Well, I tell you what, I've been a longtime champion. I want to be a better champion. At some point, I'll stop by SoFi, because where I would work in reverse is I'd ask you those questions and find the 2 best people in target to help you get where you want to go. And it's all about moving the needle. Last minute, you want to talk about SoFi and what you're doing down there, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm very blessed. So I've been working years on this, as they have as well. So COVID put a little hiccup in our step, but I've been blessed to partner here and put our studio in here, our office in here, and to be able to have a suite as well. So we'll be running masterminds here, doing events here, a lot of content. So, doing my meetings. So we're a lot closer now, Stephen. There's no
in Orange County.
Exactly. My head of PR is in Beverly Hills, so you can even carpool with them and come visit us.
Anytime you want, David. I love seeing you and what you do, but I would like to offer myself up to be a better champion for you, which means me getting you better people that can help you. Always a
Vice versa.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah. So David Meltzer, amazing human, great stuff. Follow him on social, register for his Zoom. I've sat in on them and they're great. They're inspirational, educational, all at the same time. Tune in next week. Stephen Mead, the Bullseye Guy. Thanks so much.